Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who shook Europe and reshaped its political boundaries, was not invincible. Though he had once ruled nearly the entire continent, the end of his reign came with a dramatic and humbling surrender. This is not just the story of a man's defeat, but a historical moment that defined the fate of empires. In this journey, we unravel the crucial moments, alliances, betrayals, and circumstances that forced one of history's most brilliant military minds to bow before his enemies. Napoleon's 1812 invasion of Russia was the turning point in his empire's decline. Confident in his Grande Army of over 600,000 men, he underestimated the vastness of Russia, its brutal winter, and the resolve of its people. As the Russians adopted scorched-earth tactics and retreated deeper inland, Napoleon's army faced starvation, frostbite, and disease. Only about 100,000 survived. This catastrophic failure shattered his aura of invincibility and inspired European nations to unite against him. The Russian campaign was not just a defeat, it was a self-inflicted wound that began Napoleon's long road to surrender. After Russia, the Sixth Coalition, an alliance of Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, Sweden, and others, saw their chance. They gathered their strength and pushed back against Napoleon's forces across Europe. From 1813 to 1814, major battles like Leipzig, the Battle of Nations, dealt blow after blow to the French Empire. Despite moments of brilliance from Napoleon, he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. His marshals began to lose faith, and even Parisians prepared for occupation. The Allies steadily closed in on France. Napoleon was being cornered, not just militarily but politically. On April 6, 1814, Napoleon was forced to abdicate at the palace of Fontainebleau. This moment marked the official collapse of his first empire. His own generals, weary from years of war and sensing the inevitable, urged him to step down. Napoleon attempted suicide but failed. Eventually, he accepted exile. He gave an emotional farewell to his old guard, a moment still remembered as one of military history's most poignant scenes. France's throne was restored to the Bourbon monarchy, and Europe hoped peace had returned. Following his abdication, Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba, off the coast of Italy. Remarkably, he was given sovereignty over the island and allowed to retain a small personal army. But Elba was too small for a man of his ambition. As Europe celebrated his defeat, Napoleon plotted his return. Only 10 months later, in 1815, he escaped Elba, landed in France, and reclaimed power without a single shot fired. The period that followed, the 100 Days, was short but impactful. Napoleon's return sparked alarm across Europe. The Seventh Coalition, led by Britain's Duke of Wellington and Prussia's Blücher, met him at the fateful Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. In a rain-soaked field in Belgium, Napoleon's army was crushed. Exhausted and surrounded, he had no choice. 4 days later, on June 22, he abdicated again, this time permanently. With no allies and no escape, Napoleon surrendered to the British aboard HMS Bellerophon, hoping for asylum. But they had other plans. Rather than granting asylum, the British exiled Napoleon to the remote South Atlantic island of Saint Helena, a windswept volcanic rock far from Europe. Here, stripped of power and influence, he spent the last 6 years of his life under tight surveillance. Despite writing memoirs and engaging in philosophical reflections, Napoleon was a shadow of his former self. He died in 1821, likely of stomach cancer. His final surrender was not on a battlefield, but to time, isolation, and fate. Napoleon's last exile marked the true end of the Napoleonic age. Napoleon's surrender was more than a military defeat, it was a moment when Europe turned the page on an era of ambition, revolution, and war. Though he died in exile, his legend grew larger with time. His military strategies are still studied, and his reforms outlived his empire. The surrender of Napoleon reminds us that even the mightiest emperors must yield to the tides of history. In surrender, Napoleon etched a final chapter, one of reflection, defiance, and enduring legacy.